Hi, I'm Dr. Gemma, and welcome back to Cognitive, the Knitting Psychology podcast. Cheerfully and somewhat irregularly in business since 2008. Segments today may include what's on my hooks, needles, and spindles, a strategy, something I really like, put a lid on it, oh shoot, and blather. So sit back, put your feet up, pick up your knitting, crocheting, spinning, weaving, or dyeing, or any other yarny thing you're doing, and get ready to enjoy. Well, hello there, it's Dr. Gemma, and welcome to episode 186 of the new series of the Cognitive Podcast. How y'all doing? Happy Sunday night. It is June 9th at 7:24 p.m. as I pick up my little tape recorder here and do my thing. And it's sure nice to be with you. I hope everybody's had a good weekend. I certainly have. Let's see. So in the warm thanks department, well, I have to thank both Gigi Knitmore and Karen RS, because this is like having my own personal cheering section, no lie. In fact, actually, I should throw Jasmine Knitmore into that too, because she responds to things I say. I get these wonderful texts while she's listening, while she's sort of thinking out loud about what she's hearing me say. But anyway, I've really enjoyed all your comments, and I enjoy the fact that you always have suggestions and responses to the things that I am doing, weird or not weird. And it's warmly appreciated, and I fear I do not say it enough. Also, I wanted to give some love to our own Julie W., who is going through kind of her own journey of weight loss and fitness and everything in response to health. And just to say, well, thank you, because one of the things you did was inspired the strategy for this week, which I really think I've mentioned often enough, but somehow I don't think I've ever sort of stopped and said, but what does that really mean in a cognitive behavioral sense? So I'm going to go do it today. Why not, I tell you. Meanwhile, right under the warm thanks in the show notes, which are on Ravelry, in our group on Ravelry, but also at cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com. Don't forget the K in cognitive. Anyway, right there you can find the link for the Cognitive Fiber Retreat 2024, that is CFRX or CFR10. We have so many names for it. But all the information is right there, and I am still including in the notes the message from the hotel right there up front at the top with a link that says book your rate, that is book at the group rate for Cognitive Fiber Retreat 2024. And the information, like when you can book, that is last booking day for the group rate is Thursday, August 29th of 2024, of course. And also it gives you the location and what the rate is, $179 US per night. Under that, I break back into my own voice to say that we obviously can knit whatever we want or crochet whatever we want. Last year, you may remember, a lot of us were crocheting the Abyss cowl, which was a great sock yarn scrap cowl. And so this year, I think we're looking at a class from Ariane on the across the body bags that Carmen makes. And actually, I realized I should give you the link for the basic granny square that gets used in that bag. And so our buddies at Pearl Soho, thank you very much. Live long and prosper. Pearl Soho has been bringing us free basic patterns for more years than I can tell you, certainly since I began knitting in the Stone Age. But at any rate, Pearl Soho, they have a free basic granny square pattern. If you go to that link, it's the Ravelry page for it, but they have a link there to their page that is absolutely free and not loaded with advertising. So you can see how the basic square is made, and you can experiment with it. Now, I make my square on an eye hook, which I think is a little bit big. I think they say go up to a 5.5, which is probably, it probably is an I actually, because an H is a 5.0, I believe. And so anyway, I think if you want to get into this game, making those purses only takes 4 of the squares, kids. So you can go look at that pattern, you can get a head start, you can fool around with different yarns and see what you want to make out of it. I can't even remember where I got the basic granny square pattern. It should be free because it is a standard, as is the 4 square bag that we'll be making. And there's another standard bag that you see all over the place, which is 13 squares. These are standard patterns. I don't feel bad about us using them. So I've given you the link to the free granny square pattern, and I believe on the actual page, the information thread page, I put the link for the free pattern from yarnspirations.com for the actual bag. I'm thinking I should probably gather those in both places a little better. Also, you may notice I'm somewhat addicted to woobling. If you would like to wooble at this, I will be on hand to help you get started if you've ever wanted to do basic amigurumi. And if you want to do that, I give you links in the show notes under the Cognitive Fiber Retreat section there, where I say bring a size G hook, a 4.0 millimeter, and size 4 yarn. And then I give you the link for the 2 free Woobles patterns on Ravelry. One is the basic penguin, the other is the basic chick. These are the starters. The absolute simplest one is the chick. I've made it, Kiki. All it is, a body, a beak, 2 wings. So you're going to make the body, which is easy, the egg shape, and then 3 little tiny parts, and you sew them on. If you make the penguin, it's that same thing, but it's in blue, and you have a big white tummy patch that you make in a circle flat, and then you sew that on. So if you want to do those, I will be happy to help you get started on those. If you're interested in other Wooble patterns, talk to me. I would say if you're not used to doing amigurumi, you want to go with the basic egg-shaped Woobles. Now, they will sell you some of the other shapes as beginners. They have the dinosaur shape, and they have the cylinder shape. This is everything I can think of. If you can think of more, let me know. So, the dinosaur is actually not hard to do. And the dinosaur makes, not surprisingly, the dinosaur, but also Billy the unicorn. And I know there's at least one other dinosaur shape, and I can't think what it is. But at any rate, they're listed as beginner patterns, and they are. However, Billy the unicorn, who I'm working on now, he's a beginner pattern, and I know our buddy Amber W. did him and really liked him. I liked him a little less because I got a little adjusted to the egg-shaped ones. But I was also kind of intimidated by the heavy stuff on the mane and forelock on Billy, and none of it's hard. It's all explained in typical Woobles fashion very clearly and very well. I'm almost finished with Billy, and I quite like him at this point, although I did have to hack his horn. I just didn't like the horn she made, so I made my own. But I'm going to tell you, if you're going to get started on woobling, go with the egg shape. Why? Because as I sit here on my desk, I am surrounded by 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 Woobles that are egg-shaped. So, while you're learning this, the egg shape is a really, really good one to try. The other one I'm enjoying is Clint the cactus. He's an egg shape. His basket is actually a little more complex, but Clint himself is very approachable. At any rate, start with the egg shape, and I'm giving you the links to the 2 free patterns so you can use just your leftover yarn to make them. I do know that our own Karen R.S. made the penguin, Pierre the penguin, but she got the purple variation. I think there's also a kind of rainbow variation. So really, any color yarn you want to use. Here's a concept. You could make them in black yarn. However, I think your eyes would fall out of your head. I made the cat Wooble, which is Nico the cat. I made it like a Minerva. I made it a black cat. There's nothing hard about it, but let me tell you, I just about blew my eyes trying to work with that black yarn. I had to be in broad daylight to be able to see the stitches. All right, enough of that madness. What is on my hooks and needles? Well, hippie hooray, I finished Lydia's Pinks, the beautiful socks that I made from sock yarn that I got last year, courtesy of Cutiful Christina, named after her beautiful daughter. And it's a hot, hot pink. And I love pink, and I love hot, hot colors of anything. So there it is. Now, I have to tell you, Beautiful Christina, her put-ups were very generous for those samples she sent us last year for the mini exchange. I got a lot of this stuff left over. I was a little nervous that I couldn't get a full sock out of each one, but I really wonder now if I could have. That's how generous those put-ups were. That's okay, because I will find a use for those other scraps. Believe me, I've got a lot of scrappy, stripy socks in my future, if not more, of the Abba's cows. So I'm in love with my Lydia's pink socks, and that's great. They will be the first thing out of the bin next year, because now it's gotten warm here. In the meantime, you can see that I finished Minerva, the Woobles cat, and Minerva is a total hack. I made the egg-shaped body. I looked at a lot of pictures of Nico the cat, and I basically took what I wanted. The ears, where did I get the ears? They may be Felix the Fox's ears. I think they are, actually. He's got the closest to pointed, I think, that I've seen so far. And the tail, I took Felix's tail and just did not do increases. Just made it a sort of straight tube. Ooh, not really hard. And then you can see the whiskers and the nose are right off the Nico, and any idiot could figure them out. So Minerva is finished. Minerva the Woobles cat. She's totally a hack. No pattern, except ones I already had. Now that I am a fairly experienced woobler, I have to say, of all the patterns, if I were to buy the patterns over, first of all, I'd buy the book, which I did, and I'm really happy about it, because you can put a lot of things together in that book to get woobles without the kits. So that's the first thing. But if I were buying kits now, I'd pretty much buy Felix the Fox, and I think I would buy either Freddie the Dinosaur or Billy the Unicorn. Based on them both, I got more out of Freddie the Dinosaur because his scales, he's got 5 of them down his back. And he's in the book, by the way. I call it Frederica, of course, because I made her pink. And I think she's just very girly, in my head at least. But those scales are magic circles. And really, if you're going to do woobles, you're going to get good at magic circles. And that is the one reason I would rate the dinosaur above the unicorn. The pair of them give you some interesting skills together, like that shape and getting used to working with a really irregular shape, and the little arms. They both have a lot to recommend them. So, go your own way, whichever you prefer. But for me, I really got over my fear of magic circles by doing those scales, which is exactly what they say in the book. You'll get over that if you do them this way. Now, the magic circle, we all know if you crochet. You can replace that with chain 4 and then connect the ends of the chain and then crochet your first stitches into that circle you've just made. And it won't be a perfectly closed circle, but it'll be good enough. But for the scales on the dinosaur, no, you pretty much want to be able to do those closed circles. I will say the ears on the unicorn do the same thing. And there's only 2 of them. There's not 5 like there are with scales. And the same thing. You're really going to have a problem doing those ears if you can't do a magic circle and close it tightly. They're going to come out a bit funny looking, I'm here to say. So both of those are good secondary kits. After you've done enough of the egg-shaped ones to feel like you've got it, then you can go on to the dinosaur ones, is how I'm looking at it. Among the egg-shaped ones, complicated, well, the cats, the tiger, the lion, the cat, the yeti, I would say are a little more on the the raccoon, a little more on the complex side. The raccoon is okay. It's because you have to try to get the safety eyes through 2 levels of fabric. That would be the one thing I was worried about with the raccoon. Another easy peasy one, the polar bear and the bee, and they're both very satisfying. The bee is in the book. The polar bear I just totally hacked from Felix the Fox. The polar bear pretty much is Felix the Fox without a tail and with a lovely scarf. So there you go. I'm giving you all the Woobles stuff. There is a video on the Woobles site on Instagram, which means probably on all the other social media, where the designer says, okay, if I were to tell you how to do the first 5 you should do, here's the order I would give them in. And I believe she says Kiki the chick, Pierre the penguin, Felix the fox, I know she gets Freddy the dinosaur in there as like the 5th. I can't think who number 4 would be. It might be Jojo the bunny. But that's kind of her starting lineup. I think once you get through Pierre and Felix, that's how I found it to be, you've pretty much got the egg-shaped ones down. Okay. I also finished another one from the book. This is Boom, the Woobles Otter. And in the book, it's Skipper and Boom, and they're a married couple, and Boom's got a flower on her head, and Skipper's got a top hat. Yeah, okay, sure, that's cute. The theme of the book is using Woobles as decorations for any occasion, which is as good as any other theme. I actually didn't want to do the otter. I thought the otter was a little meh. Okay, but I did the otter because I wanted to do the tiger. And the tiger was not available. It was a limited run and was sold out. So I don't even know if they ever published the otter as a kit. But I did the otter because the otter has facial features that go on the tiger. So I thought, well, as long as I'm going to learn that and it's egg-shaped, I might as well just do the book one. I like the otter a lot. This is one you can hack pretty easily. That if you've done the tiger, you certainly can hack the otter. The ears on the otter are the bear ears. So you can find them on Walter the bear. Who else has them? Well, Lola, now they call her Lola Loca for some reason. She was just Lola the polar bear, which I thought was hilarious. And I believe the raccoon have those ears as well. So, I mean, you probably could fake Boom or Skipper if you must without the book. But actually, I just think it's worth buying the book because you get so many of the basic parts and you can just mix and match them to get what you want. Which reminds me to say, if you want to see people doing that, Woobles Modifications, a group on Facebook. Really good one. Someone put up a giraffe today. People have done a mallard duck and a cardinal. There's a bunch of really, really good ones out there. Meanwhile, in progress, the stash toss is a bit stalled, 25 in versus 47 out, because I'm slowly working on finishing a few things, but I haven't finished any of the bigger projects. Was nice to add that extra skein out for the socks. But you can see next to Boom the Otter, who is not finished at that point, I also have Tanya the Tigress. I photographed them side by side after I gave them their snouts and their noses. And you can really see they're the same thing. That's why I wanted to photograph them to show you how easy Wooble hacking is. Once you've done a few of the kits, you can just fake this pretty easily. I would say, like I said, I'd say Felix and Pierre for the kits, and then the book, and you're pretty much going to fake your way through a lot. Underneath that, I did get my kit for Billy the Unicorn. As I mentioned last time, Billy was a bit on sale as their mystery Wooble. Everybody was getting him 2 weeks ago. I have since seen that they've got a new mystery Wooble, and it's a pretty good one, but I can't remember who it is. But at any rate, you want to go to a Woobles group on Reddit, or especially on Facebook. There's a Woobles group run by the company, something like Beginning Amigurumi, parentheses, featuring the Woobles. And that's actually run by the Woobles people. And a lot of people on there will mention what they got when they ordered the mystery kit. The mystery kit is usually $24, which is not a huge discount. For some of them it could be. I don't know what they charge for Billy. And it does come with a hook. Usually the kits are at least $30 if they have a hook in it. Okay, so you can see Billy there. Billy's almost done. He gets 2 little pink patches under his eyes called, I think, blush. And then you can see the forelock of his mane is standing up a bit, which they tell you it might. It's coming off him a little too much. So I will take the blue, and you do this with Wednesday. So I've already learned how to do this. It's easy enough. And I have a little bit of leftover blue. So I will be tacking down the front curls, the little short curls on the very front there. Billy, since that picture, has gotten his ears, but I think you're going to see that next week. He'll be finished because I'm just debating. One of the modifications people did was they gave him a mouth and nostrils. And I must say it looks really, really good. I would like to hack Billy because I think he's very redoable as a horse, which somebody did on Wooble's modifications. And I have the little wings kit, which I think are meant for Bacon the pig, who I'm not that interested in doing right now. But, that's to make your pig fly. But I'm thinking about, well, now that I've got the wings kit and the wings pattern, I want to make another horse shape like Billy and put wings on it, and it'll be a Pegasus. So that's my modification. But Billy was a lot of fun. I didn't like making the body. I found it kind of clumsy because you have to remember I made the dinosaur body in regular size 4 yarn. I don't care what they say. The Woobles yarn is a t-shirt yarn, and I would consider it a size 5, but they talk about it like it's a size 4. Not in my world. So I realized, why didn't I like making Billy's body? Well, it was a lot more clumsy in my hands than the body of the dinosaur had been, but Billy's body is not the dinosaur for one reason. It's got 2 extra rows. It extends out to 36 stitches, whereas the dinosaur extends out to 32 at the biggest part of the head. So he's just a little bit bigger, but he's very doable. And I think as your first kit, I wouldn't recommend him, but Amber W. did great with him as her first kit. Hers looks great. So you certainly can do it. She proved it. I think, again, I got a little too used to the egg shape, and also the smaller yarn was easier to manipulate for me. But he's a great kit, and I'm almost done, and I'll be glad to move on. And he's kind of fun. Then there's Ralph the reindeer. Okay, I went to Joann's last week, and they had Ralph, and yeah, he jumped into my bag. What do you want me to tell you? And of course, Ralph, there's also a moose. I forget the moose's name. But the moose, you can hack Ralph. The moose is Ralph, except you turn the antlers 180 degrees, and the moose has a kind of oval snout like Gertrude the llama has. I'm trying to think who else has the oval snout, and I'm really not remembering offhand. I'm pretty sure in the book you'll find somebody with that oval snout. Bacon has it, the moose has it, so Bacon the pig. So again, if you want to do the moose, or if you want to do Ralph the reindeer, you get one kit, like you get either the moose or the reindeer, and it's like getting 2 kits because you can hack the other one pretty straightforwardly. So there's Ralph the reindeer. He needs to get his nose. He's almost finished. He gets a little snout with a red stitch for a nose. He's Ralph. He's not Rudolph. I don't know what the relationship is there. And then he also gets some little white embroidery on his chest, which I think is adorable, little white specks. So Ralph's not there. He's about 2 days from finished. I try to do one thing a day on all of them once I get past the body shape. And then there's Clint the cactus. He's in the book. He's also a kit that they just dropped this week. And I thought I should make him. I'll tell you more about it next week. But there's Clint, the beginning of it. He needs arms. He needs his smile, and he needs his cactusy stripes. He's great. Clint was a lot of fun to make, and you can see I'm using my own size 4 yarn there. The basket's very interesting because she has you do a few rows through the front loop only and then through the back loop to get that shape. I really like the basket. I would tell you, if you do the basket in kind of tutti frutti colors, it would be great to use as an Easter basket. It would be easy enough to hack a handle onto it and to use it with the chick and the bunny. Kiki the chick and Jojo the bunny, both of whom I did Jojo from a kit, and I hacked the chick because really you should. Then finally, I did, when I ordered again this time, I fell for the coffee cup. They did a drop. It was a limited edition. They stopped making it, and they suddenly dropped it last week. And I said, yeah, okay, I do want that because that's another shape. And I want to see how they put the coffee in the cup, what they're using there. I always go for the kits now for technique that I don't know. Otherwise, I'm kind of done with the kits. So anyway, I got the coffee kit, and it's really adorable. Joe the coffee cup. And, I hacked donuts. What do you want me to tell you? It wasn't the most perfect job, but there it is, the frosted donut. Took a lot of pictures of her kits, which I did not buy, and then I hacked it. So there you go. Boy, a lot of woobling this week. On the crochet block experiments, haven't touched the granny square body bag, which I really need to just sit down and hand sew it. And that's just a pleasant evening, and I'm looking forward to it. Maybe when I'm editing this episode, in fact. The Lakeside cardigan, boy, is that looking good. It is almost done. It is, well, I have to say that in a kind of limited context. What I'm saying is, I have the arms, which are 2x10. I have the back, which I believe is 4x4. I have 2 of the broad panels at the front, which were 2x4 each. I think what I've got left is 2 sections of front panel that are 2x2, which really means I've got 4 squares left, and I think I'm going to have extras. That's good. Okay. And I wove in all the ends, and that took several nights. But that was really pleasant. I just did it while I was watching Bridgerton. So, no big fuss there. And I seamed everything together that I've got so far. Now, I haven't closed the arms. And of course, once I do that, and once I seam together the sides, I have to look at how I want to do ribbing on it, how I want to close the sleeves, etc. But I must say, the Lakeside cardigan, it's been time consuming, but it's really a joy. That again, this is another great use of the granny squares, where I just pile the yarn on my desk behind where the woobles are now sitting. And every night I just did a square, 10, 15 minutes. Got really handy at the squares, worked with the color variations to make sure that nothing looked repetitive. I've had so much fun with this. And sewing it together, yes, that's a lot of work. And weaving in the ends, yes. I think we're at 68 squares total. But you know what? It's this sort of thing you can do in front of the television every night. That if you're going to do one of these, a granny square cardigan, the real trick is you don't have to rush. These are just popcorn. These are so easy to do. Vestuary 24, still haven't touched it, but certainly would like to. And I'm trying to get through a lot of these things before I return to it. For those of you who have not been following along for too many episodes, every February I call Vestuary. It was an old joke many years ago and I still use it. And I knit a vest, and I love my knitted vests. And so far I've been using a lot of Malabrigo after I got the basic thing worked out by using an inexpensive yarn from Knit Picks. I really love these. And it always goes this way. I get everything done and then I get to the front, which is really easy, and then I stall. So don't everybody hold your breath. We're okay. I haven't been spinning. I'm also no longer doing the fuzzballs of Minerva, which I did spin on a drop spindle into a single, and I'm looking at it as it sits on my desk. And that really needs to be plied against other stuff. But I need to get back to my spinning, which hopefully I will this summer. We shall see, because the woobles and socks, of course, are easy small projects. But I have got a lot of socks. All right. Meanwhile, let's move on to a strategy, shall we? And the strategy is something you have heard me say. But Julie W. brought it up unintentionally. She posted this wonderful post showing she looks terrific. She took off all this weight, and she needed to for her health. I don't mean to, diss those among us who are not rail thin, because I'm not rail thin while we're on that subject, so certainly not going to diss us. But Julie looks amazing. She had to take the weight off, and she's done a sensational job. There's no question about that. And on top of it, she posted about how she's getting fit, and she did this very hard bike ride. And she did it as a post, as so many of us post, which is kind of apologetically, which is, this may not sound like much to you, but it was really good for me, and I'm trying to get in shape. And I looked at that, and all I could think was slow is better than couch. And that's really important if you're a runner. But it's also important in cognitive behavioral therapy. And now I explain. You knew I would. Now, when I talk about this, I'm going to come from two perspectives. One is a lifetime runner. I started when I was 10. I got very serious when I was 13. I got really serious when I was on the rowing team when I was 18. So you can tell I've been doing that. So that's my perspective on everything, and that's where slow is better than couch comes from. And then there's my perspective as a cognitive behavioral therapy, because we hear versions of this stuff every day in therapy. I had a patient say to me this week, I'm trying to reach these goals, but I just never reach them. I start making progress, then I give up. Yeah, this is the core of the problem. When I was in school, when I was young, and I wanted to try out for the track team when I was in 5th grade, I didn't understand that your mom had to work with the PTA or you weren't going to get on the team. That was just the politics of my school. Nothing against those moms. But it really angered me. And so I began to run. And I honestly believed them. Like, they let me try it out, but nobody watched. I just saw the coaches just look the other way. They didn't care. They already knew I wasn't getting on the team. And it really gave me a hit to my self-esteem. And my twin gave up and was really depressed about it. And I was angry and said no. And so I began to run, because when I ran, I felt like I was flying. I used to like to run downhill a lot when I was 10, and I loved that feeling. And I kept thinking, I can do this, but I'll never be fast. And I said, all right, so what? So I'm never fast. And my best friend and I used to try to run everywhere. She's such a goddess. And when I hit puberty and I got a period, I had incredibly painful periods. And what happened was I began running again more routinely, and that solved the problem. I have always found it curious that doctors do not say this to young women, that you can use exercise to regularize that. From the time I started running to manage that when I was 13, running more regularly than I had from the time I was 10, and running in a more organized fashion, from that time, you could set your watch by my periods. They were so regular, so on time, and so predictable. Happened again in menopause. I had stopped running when I had my kid. Menopause was rocky. I began running, regularized. I can't guarantee this will work for every young woman, but we sure as heck should be telling them to try it. The important thing is, when you do any kind of fitness program, slow is better than couch, but it has to start slow. And we get the wrong idea, a lot of us, because we're in school and we're getting picked by coaches who need performance, who need wins. Now, they've backed off on this. They're not as aggressive as they were when I was a kid, which is a good thing. And this leads to all the participation medal comments. But the fact of the matter is, I'd rather give every kid on the team a participation medal if that will make them form a habit for the rest of their life of self-care through staying fit. And that just needs to be real for kids. It's a lifelong habit, and it's done me so much good to the point where after I gave birth, my PCP told me the only reason I didn't die was because of my lifetime habit of running. But how do you do that? You have to live with slow. You have to live with progressing slowly. You don't jump out of the chute and you're automatically winning gold. It isn't going to work that way. And I don't think we're teaching ourselves that. So I'm looking at Julie's bike ride and going, wow, that's really good. I wonder if I could do that. And then I realized, well, I've been running now for about 3 weeks, and I'm on the third week. Yeah. So I'm using 2 schedules. So I'm on week 3 of both schedules right now. And I'm really hard on myself. Look, I'm not really running very much. On the 5K training schedule, I'm barely working out. And on the 10K, it's really not that much. Today it was. Let me tell you. Today it was 5 runs of 5 minutes each with a 1-minute walking break between them. And it felt glorious. I felt strong and ready for it. Which really blew my mind, by the way. I was expecting to really struggle. I have never run this many days in succession in my life. I've always run every other day. Now I am trying to get out there every day. It's been pretty wild. I think there was one day and only one day where I took a complete rest. The other days I biked, and I think I did 2 bike days. And the rest of the days I've been running. And yes, I'm now taping one knee because it is starting to register a bit. That's actually more about my balance. But anyway, I can't tell you how good I feel. And yet I still looked at what Julie did and said, I don't know if I could do that on a bike, though. It doesn't necessarily transfer. And I don't work myself hard on my bike desk when I'm riding that. But I do work out for 40 minutes on it now. So anyway, it's a puzzle, I guess. But it's a mystery. But this is a lot of fun. And I realized, yeah, while I'm saying to Julie, great job. No, you're doing great. And I'm looking at my own stuff and being harshly self-critical. And I think this is a problem. I think, first of all these running programs that I'm using, they're designed for men by men. So is there a difference for women? I don't know. But I should know, but I don't know. So I'm guessing at it. And I've always been coached by men. And I don't think they know all that much about coaching women. One guy was famous for saying that you have to give women a chance to put on their makeup, even if they're going to sweat it off. So I guess that's men coaching women. I don't know. I don't wear makeup, so how would I know? But the point is that I think we're all a little too hard on ourselves. Just like my patient, where it was natural to say to her, well, then your goals are too big. If you're starting a goal and you can't finish it, you make progress, you can't finish it, you need to break it into smaller goals. And she looked totally disbelieving and said, no, because see, that's not the thing. I want this big goal. I said, yes, I know. And I want to run 10Ks again for an hour with my left knee taped supportively with kinesiology tape. And you know what? I can't just go out and do it. Oh, I could. I'd be crippled by the end of it for months. But the answer is you've got to keep going and you've got to do it in small increments. And many habits in life are that way, where we start small. So when I train my dog, if I want to train my dog to do a trick like say your prayers, it's a very popular thing to do. It's very cute. The dog comes up and sits next to your knee and puts its paws on your knee and then puts its nose between its paws and closes its eyes or rolls its eyes up to you. That's very cute. You don't think your dog's going to do that, right? First time out of the chute. No. First, you have to teach your dog to come on command. Because if you say your prayers and the dog is across the room, good luck on that. So you teach your dog to come. Then you teach your dog to sit. Then you teach your dog to sit on a different word, meaning sit in front of my knee. Now, when I teach my dogs to sit, I'm teaching them to sit in front of me, and then I teach them to sit at heel. This is a new position, in front of my knees, so that they can reach me to prop their forepaws on me. When I get them to that point, then I'm going to teach them how to put their forepaws on my leg. And when they get that, we're going to teach them how to hold them there. And then I'm going to teach them to lower their head. And I said, say your prayers. And eventually they're going to connect that saying, say your prayers, means all those tricks together in one stream. Okay? Slow is better than couch, even when we train our pets. We do it in small increments. Why are we so hard on training ourselves? I don't know. So if you're going to get fit this year, or if you're not going to get fit, if your goal is just, I'd like to bike every day, maybe 5-10 minutes, maybe on an indoor bike. That's how I started, 15 minutes a day on my bike desk. And I did not accept rest days. I think in all the months I've been doing that since November of 2023, I think I may have skipped like 3 days total where I was just too tired to do it. Too many other things were happening. It was too late at night. Okay. And the wonderful thing is I'm now at 40 minutes a day on the bike, which is just perfect because this week on the 10K schedule, I'm also at 40 minutes. And today I broke 2 miles, which I'm so pleased about. A 5K, of course, is 3. So suddenly I'm 2/3 of the way there. Granted, I'm walking for part of it, but I'm 2/3 of the distance because slow is better than couch, that I have to go slowly and adjust to gradually greater distances. By the way, for those of you who want to know, the increase every week, you increase no more than 10% of your previous week. Think about that. So I was biking 15 minutes a day on my bike. So 10%, the next week would be 16 and a half minutes. That's not a big increase. And that's important because that's how you avoid injury. The same is true when you set any kind of goal. I want to study for an hour every night, but right now I'm not studying at all. You don't honestly think you're going to sit down and study for an hour and have focused concentration for an hour when you're not used to it. So you're going to study for 15 minutes with a timer that is outside your body. So you don't sit there and keep looking at a clock. You have to set a timer on a clock or on your phone or something. And you're going to do that, believe it or not, for a month. It takes a month to form a habit. And so, for a month, you study for 15 minutes and maybe you take a break and maybe you can do another 15. It's kind of like my running schedules. Eventually, you're going to build it up 20 minutes at a time, 25 minutes at a time. You have to be good to yourself. You have to be patient with yourself. And the way runners handle it is slow is better than couch. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a race and I've seen a Clydesdale. That's a heavy runner. I've seen Clydesdale struggling along in the course. And everybody is cheering them on and encouraging them. And they'll make all these apologetic comments. Well, I know I'm not very fast. And you look at them and they say, are you kidding? At least you're trying. You're working on it. This isn't the time to punish yourself by saying things like that. This is the time to praise yourself and to reward yourself verbally. I'm running. There was a time when I didn't. It doesn't matter. If you run, you're a runner. It doesn't matter what your weight is, your gender, your sex, your size, your species. Yeah, this was the anniversary of the Great Racehorse Secretariat, blowing away all the Triple Crown track records back in my teens, and I did see those races, and it was awesome. And so, yeah, he's an athlete too. But even the horses that didn't win, they're still athletes. They're still running. Well, no, now they're all gone, but in those days, they all ran, they earned money for their owners. What the heck? They were athletes that don't withhold it. My best athlete friends were my German Shepherd dogs. They really taught me, especially Tally the Wonder Dog, they really taught me how to run to complete a marathon. They were my last trainers, and they were superb because I began to understand how economically they were working out with me when we would run together. Your training can come from anywhere, and you have to be patient with yourself, and the dogs always were infinitely patient with themselves and with me as athletes. And they were superb, and frankly, so am I. So I'm going to tell you that slow is better than couch. When you're forming a habit, you have to keep saying, this is better, even if it doesn't seem to be working. This is better than it was when I did nothing. I have to tell you about Friday morning's run was that. I was running the longer course. I was running the 10K prep program, and my phone got turned off, and so I couldn't tell when to run or to walk, and I had to keep resetting it, and blah, blah, blah. And finally, I just looked. I was running a timer separately on my smartwatch, and it said, you've been out here for 35 minutes. And I said, okay, that's as much as I should be doing. But I came in and I thought, well, that was a bit of a shambles. I thought, no, it wasn't. I still ran sufficiently. I made sure I did, I think it was 4-minute runs, and 5 of those, and I made sure I did them. But I did some long walks and some very short walks in between them. Like, you're going to have days like that. You're going to have bad days when you're working on a goal, whether it's a new habit, whether it's an athletic goal, whatever the goal is. Every time you do this, you're going to have bad days. You have to be real. Slow is still better than couch. Just trying. And in cognitive behavioral therapy, that's the name of the game. We get depressed people and they say, I can't do anything, blah, blah, blah. And you say, what are you willing to try? And they'll struggle with you over it, but eventually they will tell you what they're willing to try. And then they're proud when they tell you they did it. And so that's the whole thing behind what I do for a living. Slow is always better than couch. All right. Oh, shoot. Well, that leads me to say I'm on week 3 of my 5K and 10K programs. I'm debating how far I'll go on the 10K before I sort of call a halt and just repeat a week of that and let my 5K carry me, because I want to be careful not to increase too quickly here. But it sure is fun running them every day. And really the name of the game is get up early and run when it's cool out before it hits, 80 or so. And I've been doing pretty well with that. And that's really great. The other thing I want you to know is I've always had sleep problems. Suddenly my sleep is really regularized. I'm doing great. I go to bed at 10 o'clock every night. I drink my mushroom coffee, which I'm not jittery anymore. I am drinking very little caffeine compared to what I used to drink. I did get my results back from my blood tests, and everything's in the normal range, including my sugar and my cholesterol. Really been a good experience this week. I've been very happy, and I've been very rewarded for just slow is better than couch, sticking with my readjusting my keto diet. I don't want to say I'm on a diet. This is a lifestyle, and I've been this way for 6 years. But I did clean it up a lot. I did find out mistakes I was making, and I feel very good about that. And so everything's just worked very well. I feel wonderful, and it's just a shock. And because I feel physically wonderful, everything is good. I mean, my job would be good anyway, because I work for a very good boss and a very good company, and it's so nice to finally be able to say that after just so many kind of yucky jobs that I took along the way as a psychologist. So I have to say, when I worked for the Mallard, I really liked him. After I realized they were trusting me, I began to really like that job. But, the Mallard, he's now in his late 70s. I mean, that was a nice gig, but I was going to lose it, and I knew it. And it's just so nice to be back in a job where I'm just genuinely satisfied and happy. So, all of this is still slow is better than couch, so I better move on. Nothing new in the fluffy books. I did rewatch all of Bridgerton and really enjoyed it. Living for the 13th of June, I believe it is, where they have the second half. Something I really like. I had a lot of things I really like this week. The ones I'm going to tell you about are threesome. One is, first of all, I finally ordered Bluetooth headphones with a boom mic. Now, this has been an annoying thing. You can get these gamer headphones that cost $300, but they have a boom mic, but it's not a very good mic. So, of course, I finally went back to the source, which is Logitech. I happen to like Logitech. Most of my adulthood, they've been making really useful accessories, the things the companies should have thought of and didn't. So they advertised the Zone 300 for $70. It was pink. What can I tell you? It had padded earphones. Yeah, I went for it. It's great. You plug it in. You don't have to plug it into anything except Bluetooth. You just recharge it every now and then. It's on one of the new USB-C ones, and it charges really quickly because it's just low energy. When you lift the mic up into the upright position, it mutes it. It's very comfortable. And so it freed up a space for a dongle on my connections to my laptop. What's not to love? Best of all, I've stopped tripping over the mic wire. I've had wired microphones for the last 5 years and more, and they're just annoying. So that's one thing I like. There is a link in the show notes to the Logitech site where I got it. The next thing that I have a link for is Rode ID. And please, if you're out there exercising, consider this. This is 30 of the best dollars you're ever going to spend. I have worn a Rode ID on my runs these past 20 years. They had just founded the company when I located it back when I was learning to marathon in like 2000. And it's a father-son company. I think Dad may have retired. And they do a great job. I've never had them screw up any part of it. And you buy it, it's usually a silicone band with an engraved metal plaque on it. You can get decorative plaques with it and all that sort of thing. But I think I bought one, mine is $30. It's just a slip-on over your wrist. They have one that has a closure on it. They have one that fits on your iPhone watch band. They have all sorts of variations. I've never had them screw up. Never. They've never engraved it wrong. I've never had to return it. Better than that, this time they said, have you bought from us before? If you have, we can just bring up your old record and you can edit that, which is what I did. And then they said, well, you bought from us. So they sent me a discount code for $8. Well, I put my order in not knowing that. So I wrote to them the next morning and said, can I have my discount? And I wrote on a weekend. Monday morning, first thing I got, you betcha, and they refunded the $8. I love these people, and I just think no matter what your age, if you're out there and you get injured, you just have to have contact information readily available for whoever finds you. So Rode ID, I can't recommend it enough. Depending on what you buy, it's $30 to $50, the best you will spend this year. Put them on your kids, put them on your older people. Do what you need to do. These things are worth their weight in gold. Yes, I can wear an AirTag. And if somebody has an Apple phone, they'll know what it is and know how to use the information. Just wear a Rode ID, will you? You can also get them as dog tags. The third thing, you all know it, it's Reddit. Reddit. I have avoided this, like I've avoided Discord and all those sort of chat function things because, just too much. But, okay, Reddit, I have to admit, this week I thought, I don't know why I thought this, but for some reason I said, well, they have any Wooble stuff? Yes. Yes, they do. Of course they do. I'm going to say this as carefully as I can. They have everything you want about the Woobles on Reddit. They don't on Facebook. There are some things you might want that you'd have to get from Reddit, I'm just going to say. And I was a bit shocked by that, but then I began to enjoy talking to people about it. That's probably all I'm going to say because I think I'm starting to sound weird. But anyway, yes, Reddit. I don't spend a lot of time on it, but I really have enjoyed the contacts that I've made and the Wooblers I've been talking to. Put a lid on it. Well, I found out I can't eat Rebel ice cream. Makes my sugar jump through the roof. So what is a girl to do? Well, turn to the internet. Keto Snacks says, in a blender with a cup of cottage cheese and a handful of blueberries that you've washed. Okay, well, I do that, but then it all clings to the sides and stays kind of hard. So I thin it with heavy cream. And also, instead of the blueberries, which I haven't been able to get California grown ones recently yet, I've been using 1 to 2 tablespoons of a sugar-free syrup for coffee. This is one of my great exceptions. I've gotten away from the sweeteners, and I also don't drink coffee anymore. But these sugar-free syrups have Splenda in them, sucralose. It's not really good for your liver, so I'm not going to use a lot of them. But a container of this every so often really hits the spot now that it's getting hot out. And all this is I use my bullet blender, and I put the cottage cheese and the sweetener or flavoring, the blueberries or the syrup in it, with some heavy cream to thin it, and I blender it wildly. And then I put it in a little cottage cheese container, and I put it in the freezer overnight. The next day I put it in the fridge where you let it thaw. You can have it anywhere from hard, kind of like what we used to call ice milk, sort of an icy ice cream that's really hard, down to mushy or liquidy. Yeah, this is working for me. So that's the keto ice cream experiment. I suggest you improvise on it and enjoy it. Blather, still waiting for jury duty. Have my crochet hooks sitting on my desk. Yeah, I'm going to figure out what I want to crochet. The weight loss, I'm now down 24 pounds. I'm off any plateau at this point. And my glucose and ketosis are great. I'm in nonstop ketosis. I'm watching a lot of people on Reddit talk about how they can't stay in ketosis. I had trouble with it too when I started years ago, 6 years ago. What I would tell you is you're probably not doing ketosis. You're probably not really sticking to keto, but you think you are. So I would say you need to really review what's going into your mouth. I recommend a good program like MyFitnessPal to log your foods and really study them and see what the carb content is. The other thing that's worked for me, really important, I went through my phase of having to drink electrolytes, which I've given you that recipe before. I make my own and they're great. And lately I've discovered with the SodaStream, I'm drinking about 2 liters of water a day and I feel wonderful. Project Cookbook, yes, if I'm writing it down for you, I'm putting it in the wooden box in the kitchen on an index card so that my family has this go-to source for recipes. So that's been going great. The pup date, the girls are doing fine. They're both molting, so it's time to get them groomed. The Green Fingers report I've been shameful about, but my husband took me out tonight and showed me that we've got at least 1 Russian sage coming back and 2 dianthus and our rosemary. Also, my husband got a weed whacker. This is an epic thing every year. We have to replace the weed whacker. And I finally realized I should stop blaming him. That this is because if you buy a weed whacker from like Home Depot, the parts aren't replaceable. Or they are, but it takes 3 wise men and a star to figure out how to do it. So yeah, this time we realized we had to buy a new one. We went over to Tractor Supply Hardware and got one where we looked up reviews. We got assurances the parts are replaceable. We found out how you do it and all that. So now our 5 acres, well, they're very weed whacked. My husband's working on a little bit every day and it's wonderful. In the notes under this, you will find links to all the books and patterns and things I use to support my knitting, whether I buy them or read them or get them out of a library. These links all lead you to different threads on our Ravelry group for the show, Cognitive. And on the calendar, you can follow it there. We've got all, at the top of the calendar section, I've got all this stuff that goes on in the Santa Clarita Valley that might interest you. The Sit and Stitch group at the library, the various crochet and craft groups that are meeting at different times in the SCV. And you can find all of these on Facebook, so there's not links for them. And also our free craft exchange. In terms of my time, I do have a 4-day weekend on the July 4th holiday. I have a 5-day weekend on Labor Day because My birthday is 2 days after Labor Day, and so I would like to celebrate it and just realize it's silly to work one day and then take my birthday off. CFR 10, of course, I have the information there again at the Courtyard by Marriott in Valencia on September 28th, 2024. I've also had an interesting hotel offered to me up in San Luis Obispo. And I have to admit, I'm thinking about it, but I'm afraid we'll lose too many of our people from the more southern realms of California. We've lost most of our northern Californians, I think. We've lost a lot of them. I don't know if we've lost most of them. But I think that's also a bit of aging out, and I'm cool with that. So I don't want to do it, but I have to admit I saw a really cute hotel up in SLO, and I wondered about it. We will talk about it at CFRX. Romule, of course, December 21st through January 1st, 24 and 25. Minerva gets the last word. Well, the last word is let's all mellow out. Now, you may remember if you've been following me for a while, at one point I was making the really adorable gnomes that are famous in the knitting world, and I just cannot remember the name of the designer. It escapes me. She's wonderful. And she really made a thing out of knitting gnomes out of scrap yarn. Fantastic things. And I was knitting them and naming them after friends and stuffing them with lentils, and Minerva was biting them in half. Very tragic. They're in my mending pile still. All right. Now, I worried, is she going to do this with the Woobles? Apparently not. Apparently polyester foam doesn't do much for her. That's their stuffing. So you can see a picture of Minerva, and she is sniffing the Wooble Minerva that I made in her honor. She was polite enough to examine it when I asked her to look at it. I'm sure she understands it's a tribute to her. But what I really like, she's like, okay, that's great. Now get it out of my face. So the good news is Minerva's last word to you would be, think about mellowing. You don't have to bite everything anymore. You can take it easy and bite selectively. But in the meantime, it does work to just mellow out a little bit and take things easy, particularly in the current hot weather. And on that happy note, I'm going to say, please remember, we are a community. When you help the community, you are helping yourself as an individual. And on that particular message, I'm going to say, everybody, please stay safe, take care of each other, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye. So we have come to the end of another episode of Cognitive. Please do not use this podcast to diagnose yourself. If you think you are having a mental health problem, please contact a licensed mental health professional. Show notes for these episodes can be found at cognitivepodcast, all one word, .blogspot.com. Episodes can be found at iTunes under the name Cognitive Podcast, but also can be found posted next to the show notes on the Blogspot page. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.